Hey, buddy, Thomas here. We've got the cicadas in the background. It's a very loud noise, but that's what is very indicative of the South. I mean, in the summer especially. All right, I'm gonna do a little intro of this video the night before. This right here is a black walnut log. Now, the funny story with this is my dad actually had this log down in, or up in Tennessee, and he wanted to cut this into a mantle. And I'm gonna show you what he did and what he told me, and it's kind of quite funny. He's like, man, I feel like an idiot for doing that. So you can see the mark right there, the line right there. That's where he tried cutting into it. But then he said he smoked the blade. So he's like, you know what? I hit a nail in there. Well, folks, what he actually did, he's gonna hate me for saying this. He had the blade on backwards. So there's nothing wrong with this log. He was gonna cut a mantle out of it, and there's nothing wrong with this log, folks. It is a black walnut log. It's kind of gnarly looking, but I did a video. I don't think I've shown this video. Maybe I did show this video. It's on the maple video. This black walnut log, if you see right here, see these lines that are running this direction right here? This is curl. This is going to be like beautifully curled on the inside. And tomorrow, after I finish cutting this oak log that's on there that I have squared up into a cant, we're going to open this black walnut log up. And I think we're going to find some beautiful stuff. Now the good thing is he's already cut off the bottom portion for me there, so we'll lay it back onto the salma there, make a reference cut on top, and we're probably going to slab it out, probably, but we'll see. I might be able to get some mantle out of this. Probably I might do a mantle, but I really want to incorporate this beautiful curl somehow into it. So stay tuned, more to follow. All right, folks, we've got this black walnut log loaded up on here, and we're gonna find out what possible treasures are hidden inside this log. As you can see, it's got this rotten section down here. As we know, on the other side, it's got that curl section, so that'll be really interesting. It also has this very large cavity right here. And I mean, I'm talking large. I could put my fist into that. So, large cavity. I know this tree came out of Tennessee. We got a little bit of curl that's going to be right here. This tree came out of Tennessee. I don't know if I'm assuming it was a yard tree, but this is the one that my dad had the blade on backwards. He thought he hit a nail, but really he just smoked his blade because he had the blade inverted, say on backwards. The tips were inverted. So we're going to open this up and see what this log has to offer. I think we'll be surprised with the amount of curl that I'm seeing, but I think what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to cut away a good bit here at the top. All right, folks, I'm really excited to see what this log has to offer. I've got the camera. It should be in a pretty good area. We'll get some good action shots or anything. The blade is decently sharp. We're gonna make some exploratory cuts. I'll probably put it on the 1.5" scale, and we'll skim off some of these weird little pieces on top. And then I've got some folks who do epoxy. They might be able to salvage something out of this. So I've got everything cleared out underneath the log. Looks like she's in a good location. I'll pin her down with the log dog, and then we'll see what this log has to offer on the inside. I'm not going to use my toe boards or anything. It does have a bit of a bell at the bottom, but I think we are okay where we're at currently. I'll have to be handling this one with a cant hook. The log, it's just too short. It's about 5.5, 6 foot long or so. Sawmill's warmed up. Should be good to go. camera a little bit easier. Now the cicadas are really loud too, but we did some exploratory cuts. We're gonna figure out what we have on the inside here. I have people that can make stuff out of this, some epoxy type projects. You can put some of that stuff together, make some really cool stuff. Or even we can make some spoons or spatulas out of something like that. Down here in the south, we don't get a lot of black walnut, so I can salvage every little piece of this stuff and make something out of it. I mean, even something as small as this, you know, clean that up, it could be like an island inside of a table that has epoxy around it. That'd be cool looking. So I've got one of my buddies who owns Gulf Coast Grains down in, I think he's in Biloxi or Gulfport. A piece like this, it looks funky, but he can make this into an amazing piece. So I'll have to send him a picture of this. He might like that. It's got some good curl and everything going on with it. This piece right here. Now this, I can already see some ants of sorts. We got a lot of ant stuff going on here. You see, even a slab like this, that's cool. That could be like a coffee table, and then you frame around it with some epoxy. So I'll send him pictures of that. It's nice when you have some really great customers who do some really great work and everything. They come back, and then you just think like, okay, I know who can use this. I know a few people who could use this. This is a very beautiful piece. And it does have that bug damage, the ant damage and everything, which makes it even more unique, if you will. In the past, this would be essentially a junk log, but nowadays, with the, you know, the popularity of epoxy, it's amazing what these artists can do with some of this epoxy stuff. Black walnut smells great all the time. Another great piece that can be for epoxy. Hopefully you can see that in the camera and everything. Now black walnut, this will darken up over time. When you first cut fresh black walnut, I say fresh, it's actually pretty old. But anyways, it'll darken up. And right here in this section right here, there's a lot of figure when we're getting to a knot. On the back side, it's actually pretty cool too. We're starting to get into a cavity. I knew that this tree is going to have some interesting stuff inside of it. There's a cavity there. So we'll see. You never know what the end user can do with it until they do it. Throw this off to the side. Get some pictures to send out. And that's the good thing about having the YouTube channel, because some of my regulars and everything can see, quote unquote, real time what I'm cutting and understand what's going on in the mill. And if they see a particular piece they like, they'll say, hey, throw that piece off to the side and I'll see you in a couple weeks or something like that. And I have no problem because they're repeat customers, and I feel like I've given them a deal and they've given me a deal because they're buying my wood. So yeah, pretty log. This next cut, I'm going to go ahead and keep with what we are doing and cut 1.5 inches. Now if I went 2 inches, that's all fine and dandy. It would look all great and everything, but knowing who my customer is, and if I'm dealing with epoxy folks, the deeper I go, the more epoxy they have to pour. So I'm trying to keep the wood where it's going to be stable, because I mean that's over 20 inches wide right there. I want to keep it stable enough, but I also don't want them to have to put, you know, a couple $100 of epoxy, $400 or $500 of epoxy into a project, because then they're looking at what can they make on their return. So when you make your cuts, you need to make sure you know who your customers in mind are, and kind of like what's their product that they're trying to sell, and what price range are they trying to sell it at. So it's a good networking thing. So I'm going to do this next 1.5 inch cut. We'll have a really cool inclusion right here that can be filled with epoxy, and we'll have some ant damage and bug damage down here. I'm hoping at the center, because I'm right here next to this hole, I'll probably get 2 more slabs, at least 1 more slab, maybe 2 more slabs before I get into this actual hole here. And then we'll have to figure out what we're going to do, because also I have a request for mantles as well, and I would get rid of this side, but I think I might be able to, yeah, I think I can get the other side. So if I do 2 more slabs off of here, I'll come back, square off this junk right here, and then we may have 2 mantles that'll come out of this, because actually I have an order for 2 Black Walnut mantles in about the 5-foot range, and this is just over 5 foot. So I could be like literally taking out 2-3 jobs on this one log. That'd be nice. It'd be very nice. Out of a literally junk, looks absolutely horrible Black Walnut log, but as you can see on the inside, I mean, there's a lot of uniqueness to this, and especially if you have the right people who know how to bring out that uniqueness. So let me throw in a time lapse. So I'm not making the video too terribly long, because I actually talked to one of my subscribers the other day. He said, hey, if you can keep your videos a little bit shorter, that'll make it easier for me to, be able to not eat up all my data plan. I said, roger that, I'll have some short ones and some long ones in there. So stay tuned, time lapse, here we come. Well, folks, how about that? Almost. My buddy Steve came over and actually got to witness this. I was like, I've got 1 minute, a little bit more to cut here and everything, and well, as you can see, the blade blew up. I heard the blade. The blade's really sharp still, but I did hear the blade start making a really weird sound about a foot before this, and I'm like, man, please make it, please make it, please make it. It started to exit out of the side of the log here. And I have about 3 inches on the other side. I've already cut the bottom at the height I wanted to cut. The bottom one's gonna be a mantle. Then I made the 2 slabs on top of that. I don't know what the dogs are even barking at, but anyways, that bottom one's gonna be a mantle. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead, get the blade out, and then we're gonna just use the chainsaw to cut this little last piece off, because I need to square up this log anyways. So we're only going to be losing a little bit, like 3 inches on one side. It wouldn't have been usable anyways, but it's just not worth it to put a new blade on there, resaw that exact same cut that we just did, and go from there. So yeah, let me get this blade off. I'm going to throw on a time lapse, because sometimes these can take a while to get out. Well, folks, if you've seen in the hyperlapse there, the time lapse, we're looking for something. And first things first, I'll show you on here. There is, right there in front of my thumb. Let's see if I get it out in the sunlight, you can see it. Right there. Let's see if I can get it focused. Right there in front of my thumb, there is a crack. And it's not much of a crack. You can kind of see it there in the sunlight, not a whole lot. That was the only crack I could find, and then there was another crack, obviously, where the blade broke. And there was, I broke that a little piece off as well, so there's about 3 cracks. But I guess that cutting, as wide as it was and as hard and dry as this was, it just couldn't handle it. But what we're looking for is we're actually looking for the tip of the nozzle off my watering thing right here. And this is actually a rather neat function or feature. This can actually, it won't break this pipe, but what it'll do is it'll knock a knuckle off. Now, unfortunately, the one that it knocked off is the little small part. Now, I've already chipped it up a little bit. I can still deliver water with this as it is, but I like having that little nozzle there. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue looking around the mill, and odds are it probably threw it out there, or up there, out there somewhere, or it even could be back in here. And I've actually had some weird stuff thrown up on top of the engine before. So it'll take me some time, but we'll find it. All in all though, I think the boards turned out nice. I was able to actually just break this off rather than get the chainsaw out. You can see about 3 inches here, and it actually came out there, but we can clean that up, and that way I didn't have to break out the chainsaw. These 2 pieces here would make perfect little benches or something like that. And then that piece right there, I'll shave it down some more, make a mantle out of it. But yeah, whenever you have a blade blow up, this is something that does occur on the mill, and you'll have some things here and there. You have to, in our case, find a little nozzle. Well, hopefully you found this is interesting, and I'll before I conclude this, I'll be looking around here, and then I'll throw some of these slabs out, get them cleaned up, and then show what the final products look like. But overall, very happy. That blade, unfortunately, was near its end of its life, and it just couldn't take it no more. And I didn't look earlier, but I didn't see anything in the log that really would have caused it. You can see right there, that black mark right there is where the blade started to rise up. I don't see anything it hit. There's no nails or anything like that. Started to rise up, so put some pressure on it. And then once she got right here to the end, I guess it just couldn't handle it anymore, and she blew. So, give me a second. We'll get these slabs cleaned up, and we'll take a look what they all look like. Okay, folks, I did one other thing here. I wasn't liking the way that this piece was looking with that big old check right there. So I want to go ahead and cut that section out. Now, the section I'm going to cut out also is the section that has all that curl, so I'm going to maximize. I set the blade where it's at right now, F2, which is like measuring from the top down. I'll go ahead and cut out a couple 1.5 inches until I get cleaned up on this side here. Then I'll flip the log 180 over, and we'll clean up a little bit on the other side. The goal is to get a mantle out of this, and I think it's going to work well. So this side cleaned up. I cut below where I wanted to. It has some amazing stuff right here to make spoons, spatulas, and stuff like that. Spatulas, I guess you could say. Alright, flip this over. Now the goal is to cut out this nasty section over here. Since it's less than 5 inches, I'm going to use my spacer. I'm using this piece right here. And all I'm going to do is clean up this section right here so I get a nice squared up little mantle piece. It won't be a big mantle, but it's going to be a pretty mantle. And it'll give me something to work with. It'll have a 5.5 foot stock mantle just sitting around. And if the customer needs that, I can do that. It's not quite long enough for the job I thought I had. too shabby. We got a couple pieces again to make spoons and spatulas out of. My mantle is 4.5 inches by 9 inches by 5.5 foot. I think this is a very respectable little mantle. I mean, it's I can come back with some tools and kind of round off the edges and everything, but I think that is a fine mantle cut out of a fine piece of black walnut once we got away from all the stuff on the inside. So I'm happy with that. I think any potential customers will be happy with this too. All right, folks, not too shabby. So as you can see, I got a couple of these really unique pieces right here, and they've got all sorts of inclusion stuff on them. And then these sections right here, again, that's where that big hole was, and there's a little bit of carpentry damage on there, but it looks pretty good. You've got a decent amount of curl and just various locations around the wood. I mean, right in that section is pretty cool. I've still got some sawdust and stuff on there. This right here, strategically placed, where you have, you know, that side, opposing sides, do a little river table between it. That would be very pretty. But check out all that crazy figure in there, all that right there, all that almost like feathering effect right there. I love that. That's always a big favorite. These right here, actually I've got a few more pieces by the sawmill. Those would be what I make some spoons and spatulas out of. And then on this side right here, this could almost be a coffee table. Join those two pieces together, fill in a little section of epoxy on both sides. That's pretty nice. And of course our mantle piece there that we finished off with, that last little piece. Again, that's 9 by 4 or 4.5, something like that. But I mean, that grain looks great. I mean, that's some great looking grain. Maybe Gulf Coast grains might like some of this. But overall, not too shabby. Out of one gnarly looking log, we get all these slabs. We got a couple of them at 2 inches, and actually about half, 2 inches, and then 1.5 inches. So it turned out pretty well. Hope you enjoyed this. It was kind of a hodgepodge. I just threw some things together, and a few things happened with the blade blowing up and everything else. But overall, I'm very happy with what these turned out. Again, please like, subscribe to the channel. The channel's growing. It's awesome. We have another big surprise. So the last big surprise we talked about was the obtaining of the 2220 mil up in Tennessee. Well, folks, we have another surprise coming up in Tennessee, hopefully at the end of September. And then one last thing, I haven't posted it yet, but I did record a video while I was up in Tennessee. October 30th, we are looking to do a sawmill show at Natchez Trace State Park, October 30th. It will be a good one, folks. Beautiful place. Be looking for a video coming out on that within the next 2 weeks. I'll put that video out. So hopefully I'll get this weekend. This will be posted. So today's September 3rd, I believe. Yeah, dove season will open up today. Hopefully we'll do some dove hunting tomorrow. But yeah, so dove season will open up today. Hopefully get out there and do some of that. But yeah, long story short, October 30th, sawmill show in Tennessee at Natchez Trace State Park. Stay tuned. I'll have more details on that. All right, we'll see you around. Thanks.